Uh, Hi, everybody. I'm Kai Perrignon, your host for Trash Day. Today is Friday, September 19th in Australia, and I'm talking to writer, director, actor, and many more, Jamie Grefe. Thank you for joining me today, Jamie.
Thank you for having me, Kai.
I think you've had a really fascinating career, and so I thought that to start off, we just go real basic. Could you talk to us about just like your origin into filmmaking? Like, how did you get into this art form?
Yeah, sure. So I'll go back. I'll go back far, but then I'll speed up. When I was very young, I was born in 79, so I came up in the time really of VHS, prime American HBO, Cinemax, Skinemax, satellite television. And so movies in general, being from a really small town in Michigan, infiltrated my imagination. Like music and movies were my jam. And they were this forbidden. There, I saw movies as being this kind of, I don't want to say esoteric, but they really had a significance at that time, a magic to them. There was a magic to seeing bodies moving. And so I thought moving and talking and acting and performing. And I thought I have to do this. So actually, my friends and I would shoot movies on VHS and so the way that camera was set up, I don't know if you've ever played with these old VHS camcorders, you can actually edit in the camera as or as you're shooting. I don't know if we were editing as we were shooting or if we had the capability to edit afterwards, but that experience, I can see it so vividly still. And it really crafted the ability to be able to see the movie unfold as it's being shot. Now, fast forward, life goes on, life happens. Movies were always there for me. Music became very important for me in many ways. Um, and then I dipped back into movie making in college, just with friends. This was like mini DV tapes. It's like, let's go make a short film. Let's make something. And that spirit of making something again, I didn't pay attention to it even at that time. And that was like 20 years ago, but we would make little movies to the point where we had a collection of movies that we showed at the university. And I think people were like, "Are you a film student?" And none of us were film students. We were just all different students who had gotten together and made movies for fun. And I'd like to think that I was kind of the, de facto leader of that, so to speak. Um, Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but years go by, and then I really started writing more and more. I really thought I was a screenwriter, actually. I think there's a perception where I thought to I used to hold this distinction in my mind that I can't be a director. I Who am I to call myself a director? Who am I to call myself a producer? Whatever. Who am I to act in a movie that's going to be seen by people? That was a distinction that I held for many years, but the distinction that came as a consequence of that was, well, I can be a writer. So I got a master's degree in creative writing. I've written novellas, books that are I think they're in print, novelizations, whatever, screenplays. And in 2013, I had the great fortune of reaching out to Jim Wynorski, who I had watched when I was a young boy, grew up on his movies, um, Chopping Mall, Hard to Die, being the two main ones that I really loved. But I reached out to Jim and I said, "Hey, could I novelize one of your movies? Do you own the rights to any of your movies? Can I novelize them?" And he was actually interested in it. And I wrote maybe 10 pages. And when he read those 10 pages, he just said, "This reads like a screenplay. This is a screenplay." So he said, "I have a job for you if you want it." And so I was hired on the spot to write four movies for him at that time, which I did. And two of them sold to Showtime. And two of them, I think, didn't get picked up, which is a good lesson that we learn in the film industry, which is there's no obligation for it to get picked up. But that was quite an eye-opening experience. And then I think fast forward a little more, I was able to moved out to Los Angeles, and over time, as people meet people, I met Gregory Hatanaka, who's the CEO of Cinema Epoch and Cineridge. And Greg and I had food together, and we talked, and we had a lot in common, and we laughed, and it was ready. The time was ready for me to write for him. Um, and when he calls you on the phone, he basically says, "Hey, Jamie, it's Tuesday night. So do you want to write a script?" Yes. I need an action script. We're shooting it on Thursday. That kind of a pace. Are you in? I'm in. So that kicked that off. Now from that, I could pause here and let you interject if you want to. From this relationship with Greg grew the opportunity to direct. And Love Hurts was actually shot October 1st of last year. And that was the first, I guess, I'm calling it the first studio movie that I've ever directed because the Sorority Girl Massacre movies were my own.
And can you? Okay, I got. Okay, there's a lot of amazing stuff in there, a lot of very interesting stuff in there. Can you talk about? Okay, so I like this thing you're saying about the distinction between screenwriter and director, and I definitely understand what you're talking about. Of like, there's kind of a sense of hierarchy of like you have to earn this status of director, which is not based off of reality necessarily. So but you talked there about your first studio movie, directing your first studio movie versus directing your first like independent movie with these sorority girl massacre movies. Can you talk about like what did it feel like a significant jump from to the studio's standpoint? And also, was it a significant jump for you in the first place, directing the more ASMR stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question. I actually wrote um, a screenplay for Sorority Girl Massacre because Greg and I were talking and talk when you're around somebody like Gregory Hatanaka, you're around somebody who creates possibilities for people. He creates possibilities for people. So it's only a matter of time before you're asked, or not asked, but if you say, "I'd like to direct something," he might take you up on that. If he feels or he gets the intuition that you're able to do that. So there was a time, just as things were unfolding, where there was talk of me directing a movie. I thought to myself, well, I think it's time. This kind of emerged in me very vaguely, though. And I have to say this very vaguely, because I was still holding on to this idea that I needed a script. I can't stress that enough. That was a distinction that I was making in my mind that I need a script. So I said, Greg, I'll be in touch with you. Let me dig in, let me write the script, I'll send it to you, then we'll hammer it out. He said, okay, so make it one location, three girls, straight up slasher, whatever you want to do. I said, sounds perfect. Let me dig in. So I was like conceptually ready at that point. Now here's what happened is I wrote the script. In the writing of the script, I felt different. And the difference that I felt at that moment was the realization that I was going to direct this script. Prior, all of my other work, I can't imagine, because I've written a lot of screenplays. Actually, I've written a lot for Greg that have been produced. The Awakening of Emmanuel, Call Me Emmanuel, Another Way to Die, A Christmas Love. There's a handful of them. I can't imagine how those were interpreted on set because I was not on set for those. But when I was really writing Sorority Girl Massacre, would have these moments where I thought, well, I'm going to direct this. How how am I going to direct this scene? Whatever, like page 7, middle of the page, somebody does something. Well, how am I actually going to do that? And so that reality was starting to creep into me. So already in my mind, there was something new that was starting to emerge, which was the skill of finally, for the first time in my life, being able to write something as if I was going to direct it. I was writing it so that I would take that script and go, I know how to direct every page in this script. Now, I wrote the script, I liked it, and Three Girls, One House, Sorority Girl Massacre. As things go, Greg said, well, production schedule has changed. We're actually going to, the slate has changed, whatever. We're going to go with somebody else's movie right now, but I'll be in touch. We'll talk about getting Sorority Girl Massacre up and running at some point. And that happens. Movies get talked about and then they fall through all the time. It's very common. But I remember that night, and I must say, I went through a very, very life-altering experience, which was a year prior to that, I was divorced. And it was a very hard reality for me to accept. And the funny thing is, as I was going through the divorce, I wasn't telling anybody about it. And one of the few people I told was Greg. And I remember his response was, don't worry, we'll get you directing. And this was before I had even mentioned that I wanted to direct something. He's like, look, don't worry. How does this sound? Once you're settled into your new place, we'll get you directing some things. I think he was just being nice, but it was like a hope that I had that was amazing. Now, Sorority Girl Massacre falls through. I'm sitting in my apartment, this apartment where I shot Sorority Girl Massacre, and I'm just staring at the wall and I'm alone and it sucks. And the one hope I had, just like that, a good friend, yes, a good friend, but a good friend can still say, sorry, I'm not going to put in the money to make this movie. Fair enough. It's nothing I can do to get angry. It doesn't matter. So I'm sitting there and I don't know how to explain it, but it was almost like whatever distinctions I had been making subconsciously about reading the script as a director, something had opened up within me. And I remember putting the script down and just thinking to myself, I'm so lost right now. I don't know. I wanted to shoot this so bad. This was my movie. I was going to direct this script. And then this beautiful idea just emerged from nowhere, which was, what is stopping you from shooting? You could shoot tonight. You live alone. You're in Los Angeles. You can shoot somebody. So it sounds so easy when I say it, but it came from a place that was so real and so simple. And I remember I had to get in my car and take a drive. And all of a sudden, things were firing left and right. I was like, okay, yeah, I can cast. I can get somebody to come over. I can make a contract. I can use my phone. I can get a light. Suddenly, I had become a director and I didn't even know it. Now, I was still in the realm of creating, creating it in some way, but the seed had been planted. The context was there. The distinction had been made. A new reality had actually already happened that I had made from almost just like from nothing, like I said. And I started shooting actresses and models and people that I would hire and pay. And the footage that I shot over time became Sorority Girl Massacre, Black Static at the Moment of Death. Now, I will pause soon because there's one more thing I want to say. As I was getting more comfortable shooting people and making this all happen, shooting all just, I have a very small apartment. So uh, I was very limited, but those limitations became my methodology. Do you have a wall? Yes. Let's make a movie. Let's shoot something. Now, Ziva Faye was coming into town from Arizona. We were going to shoot something, but she said she had an Airbnb set up. So she said, how about you come to the Airbnb? I'm going to bring my friend. You can shoot us both, whatever. As I was driving there, I just thought, I really want to make a movie. It's time. I want to make a movie with these two tonight. I want to make a movie tonight. And that session became Sorority Girl Massacre, Guts of Ecstasy. which was really the turning point for everything. Because once Greg saw that movie and he saw Black Static at the moment of death, he just said, these are great. These are amazing. How long did it take you to shoot this? I said, I shot Guts of Ecstasy in 4 hours. And then I edited it myself and I used all my original audio that I had made. And he's like, 4 hours, huh? So he's like, so if I get you a mansion next week for 8 hours, you can give me two movies. I said, yes, I can. And one of those movies became Love Hurts.
Amazing. Wow. Wow. What a journey. Okay, so now you've proved yourself to Greg. You're making the studio movie. You're in the mansion. Is Love Hurts the first one or is that the second one of the day?
Love Hurts was the first one. And yeah, it was very fast. Actually, it was a very fascinating shoot. If you want me to dive into the shoot, unless you had a question, um,
No, I think dive into the shoot. Yeah.
because that was really a turning point to get that offer. And once that offer came, I was ready. And maybe it was even because I suddenly in me, I think there was a change too. And I have to go back to this. I no longer felt or knew. I knew this experientially that I don't need to shoot movies with scripts. And I felt so good being able to free myself from that. And I think even beyond that as well, there's this other thing I'm not even talking about right now, which is the pain that I went through having to live alone. Again, as a man in his 40s, having to kind of rebuild your life and uh everything that came from all of that. This everything that came from that actually was a lot of that was put into Black Static at the moment of death, which is to me is a profoundly sad movie and beautiful and very touching to me. It's essentially about my divorce, and I couldn't make that movie now. And Guts of Ecstasy was much more playful, which I loved. I felt this freedom in Guts of Ecstasy. So kind of coupling those two things together, the freedom to direct in a space that wasn't my space, coupled with the ability to express whatever poetry or pain I felt I needed to express or wanted to express, came together in the Love Hurts slash Love Never Leaves um, day of shooting on October 1st, 2020, four. Now, I called the only woman I wanted to call, which was Mariana Carvajal. I'd met Mariana at a screening of a movie, and she was just amazing to me in that at that screen. Like she was just there, a friend of a friend. She had this beautiful energy. Like energy is so cliche, but she was just so kind. She had the kindest face. And somebody who has such a kind face and voice and smile, and they look at you and go, I love slasher movies, and you go, and I was just kind of awakening again in my life, going, oh my gosh, like you're amazing. She may have mentioned to me that she was trying to act or acting. I shouldn't say trying to act. I mean, everybody in LA is trying to act in some capacity. But I remembered, oh, okay, Mariana, actress, interesting, beautiful person. And I got her number and I kept in touch with her. And so when it was time to shoot, when it was really a reality, I had never used the casting websites before. I had never, suddenly I'm faced with wearing many hats. Like I have to cast a movie. You have to cast this movie. Like, so Gregory is amazing, but he's very, very DIY guerrilla. He worships Cassavetes and he's very much like, go out and make your movie. Like, just figure out a way, make it. So I called Mariana. I made her an offer. I convinced her. I said, this is not going to have a script. It's going to be unscripted, but it's only going to be unscripted because I have to shoot it in one day. And I said, I'm actually tasked with shooting two movies on that day. So you'll be in two movies. Now you have to trust me. I'll give you an outline. I'll write down the shots. I'll write down some information about your character. But beyond that, it's going to be unscripted. I'll feed you lines. We'll play with it. Are you in? She was in. Eventually, I got her to say yes. It's a risk. What a risky situation for any actor to walk into. It always is. But we arrived at the mansion, and we also cast Amber King. I don't know if you know this. There's Amber King is in it. Amber King is in it, and she's not in it because production starts, the day starts. Amber arrives, Mariana arrives. They both came. Once the actresses are there, I know we're making a movie. Like there's no turning back. Like the talent is here. Let's shoot. Got the camera set up. I had a DP, had a producer, and I start shooting Mariana. And then I start shooting Amber about 30 minutes later, and the clock is ticking. And I start to realize she's coughing a lot. She's got a really scratchy voice suddenly. Sweetest girl, amazingly sweet, beautiful, but she's coughing, she's wheezing. She's like, oh, there's cats in this house. And I talked to the producer and I said, what's going on? And he said, we had told her agent, I don't want to get anybody in trouble because the agent's an amazing person too. Um, we told the agent there were cats, but I don't think the message was communicated. She's very allergic to cats. And she looked at me and she goes, Jamie, I'm sorry. You're so nice. This is such a nice experience. It's like 10:30 in the morning, but she's like, I gotta go. I'm so allergic to cats. So 10:30, love hurts, and I had Mariana, and I tried to call a couple people, and I thought, I gotta stop calling. I have to make a decision now. We have to shoot this movie. This is gonna be Mariana and me. So the whole movie at that point just showed itself to me shot by shot as it was being shot. And the movie is shot chronologically. I always shoot, I shoot in order. So what you see on screen is really the unfolding of the day from morning, more or less, from morning until we broke for lunch at around 2:30. And within that time, a lot happened. And I don't want to reduce the movie to anyone and just have you people look at it as an exercise in spontaneous filmmaking. But something certainly opened up in that movie and a new story emerged from it. And the story that came from it is like I couldn't make it now. I just have to keep saying that. I couldn't make it now. It's who I was at that time. I couldn't show my face. I didn't want to show my face. I couldn't show my face. That was another thing I had to struggle with was showing my face. Um, that's primarily why I'm masked. So there's a lot there. The title came after the fact. And then yeah, after lunch we shot Love Never Leaves, which if anybody wants to track that one down, it's around as well, which is a very fascinating movie too, and very different, but also with Mariana and my producer Chris Spinelli.
Well, more Chris Spinelli showcase in that movie.
It's really, you've seen it, yes. It's really a Chris Spinelli showcase. But I was rewatching that movie recently with somebody I wanted to show it to. He's so amazing to me in that movie. The physicality. I love that movie. I have a soft spot for that movie. It's so timeless and it's so slow. It's so
Well,
slow. And that was one of my techniques at that time on that first shoot for getting the shots that I needed. I thought, if I can just get 60 minutes of footage on both of these movies, I'm good. That was a goal I had. And then I thought to myself, well, luckily for me, I'm a big fan of slow cinema. Like legitimately. The morning of the shoot, I watched the Kiyoshi Kurosawa movie Chime.
nice.
I put on Chime. I watched that. That's a 45-minute movie. And I thought, I'm ready. I'm ready. I just have to go and do this. And yeah, so those movies have a very particular pacing. There's a lot cooked into them where it's not that I didn't know what I was doing, but it was actually my first time working with a DP, a producer on set, an actress, everybody's being paid. We have a time limit. We're in somebody else's house. There's a lot of decisions that I was making spontaneously that I had to make as a director, and I wanted to be in it. I felt necessary to be in it, by the way. It's not even a vanity thing. It's just I like performing, and I feel I'm just as much a performer as I am a director. And so to finally be able to embody the pain and the just anything I was feeling at that time, to be able to put that on the screen was very important to me. That character, whoever it is, is important to me, and how he moves and how he's not able to talk, how he's not able to touch, how he's not able to connect was extremely important to me. Nobody else. Chris was going to play that character, actually. He wanted to play that character, but I had to make the decision. It's going to be me. I'm going to play it. So yeah, so that's very ripe with significance. That movie you're choosing to show, that one in particular, I was very surprised, but it's very ripe with significance.
Yeah, it certainly sounds so. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess when I was choosing which one to show, because I've seen like I want to say 14 of your films, maybe around that zone, and that one to me just struck out as like almost like pure Greffy. It was like unfiltered in a certain way of just like the pure minimalism of it, even compared to the sorority girl massacre movies. I don't know, it just really hits. It just really hits. Uh, so okay, so you kind of talked about a few of my questions. You kind of reached in through there. Well, I have a quick question. Do you which you don't have to answer, but how much money approximately are the budgets for the movies? Can you say that? Like ballpark.
Definitely under 10,000, I
Okay.
would say. Well, I don't want to say definitely under 10,000. I would say under 10,000. Um, there's benefits to working with a company that owns its own gear, for example. So we don't have to raise money to buy lights. Actually, I don't. We have lights. We have a lot of gear. Cinema Epoch has everything you need to make a movie. Um, so all of those expenses, actually, that's thousands of dollars right there. But you start to learn how much are locations, and if you only book a location for one day, what's a good rate to pay somebody? How much is everybody getting paid? I would say modestly, yeah, we're coming in under 10,000 for these movies for sure. Um, now, yeah, nothing was lit, by the way. Sorry to,
No, yeah, no,
nothing was
actually,
lit.
I wanted to bounce off that anyway, because yeah, so because
There,
you're just in there, you got the universal lighting set up, or just whatever's in the house.
then, it's fascinating because, like I said, I thought I was a writer for so many years. I was just like, I saw myself through the lens of writer. I saw scripts as being necessary to movies. Scripts are necessary. You have to have a script. Just like when somebody tells me on set, oh, we have to get a match shot of this. We have to get the reverse of this shot. Those words have to. We need a reverse shot. We need a script to make a real movie. I don't agree with that at all. That's a distinction that person is making, and it's no more than their opinion about filmmaking. What if I don't want to get a reverse shot? What if I don't want to use a script? What if that's the way I want to shoot? And all of this was revealed to me after I did the love movies, these two love movies. Uh, I saw a way of shooting, given the opportunity, that I saw also the my ability to tell what I would like to consider a coherent story. So I think all of the study that I had had of storytelling, of just the idea of what is a story, what kind of story was I born to tell, And this makes sense because I have a lot of spec scripts. I have a good handful, a dozen spec scripts. None of them ever sold. And I know why, because they're impossible to direct in some way, because they were never meant to be made as movies shot by somebody else. I can imagine anybody else reading them and just going, like this is what happens in the third act. Like, you know what I mean? Like why is he having this character turns into a something like this kind of thing happens? But to me, it makes perfect sense. So taking that knowledge and then filtering it through this idea of reducing a screenplay to its essence, which is a shot list, coming up with a shot list, a log line, a general idea, a title, a tone, a texture, um, coming at it with that, and then being able to show up on the day of the shoot ready and be very present, but then also be ready for the unpredictability of the people that you're working with. Like, I had never worked with Mariana, and I didn't know what she was going to be like. I didn't know. Who knows? She could be very difficult to deal with. She could be slow. She could be questioning herself throughout the day. I don't know, but I have to say she did not. She was amazing to work with, and she made those movies have something that if I were to reshoot that movie with somebody else, it would be a very different movie. Just by virtue of that was her on that day, on that particular day as it unfolds. I mean, you watch Love Never Leaves, it's like you can see the sun going down. It's like that's just the unfolding of the day. Um, so yeah, so a lot, so I don't remember your question, but I just want to say like I definitely felt liberated and the budgets, not to say that I don't care about them. Actually, I'm very happy to make a movie on a very, very, very low budget because I want to be in the same room as somebody, and that person says, "Oh, I can do this movie for 10,000." And I want to walk in and go, "Well, I'll do it for 5,000." And I'll actually do it in one day. I want to be that person. I like that. I like the challenge. I don't like it because I'm cheap. I don't like it because I like to rush things. It just feels right to me. It just feels right to me that a movie can be made in a day and that a person can have that experience. That can be a movie, you know, and maybe I'm wrong. I mean, Film Threat reviewed Lazarium and they just said, this is not a film. This is not a film. This is a self-indulgent improv exercise that's grating and annoying, and the lead actor should cut himself out of the entire movie and then release the movie without him in it at all. It's not a movie, though, they say. He should just release whatever this garbage is without him in it. So, you know, as I say this to you, it sounds very authentic because to me it is. But then I test it out against other people and I just go, how can he not see that that is a movie. To me it's a movie. Why isn't it a movie, you know?
Well, this is like
What's
part
a
of the
movie?
project, right? Is to make these things on the underground, on the close to ground level as possible, and you see them and they are art and they can be beautiful, and then the next person can see it and be like, I want to make my own thing. That's cool. Yeah, I think it's
I
awesome.
like yeah, I like movies that I like art that makes me that I like art that opens the possibility for me to make art.
Yeah.
I like art that allows that grants me access to whatever it has. It's opening something inside of me. It's like James Benning. It's like watching Easy Rider by James Benning. Would I put that on a Friday night and watch it for fun? No. But when I put on James Benning, something, I'm allowed something. He's allowing space. He's allowing something in me to come through. And I think that's how I enjoy. that means a lot to me. And I'll actually find myself watching those movies more than other movies that maybe a person would think, oh, this Jamie guy, he must like horror or something, or he must like all these movies and all that. I don't have Netflix, I don't have Shudder, I don't have any of I don't none of it. I I will just watch obviously what I watch, but then I'll get drawn into these movies that yeah, they just allow something to be. And I like that. I I can get a lot of joy out of that and put that back into the work and hopefully give that to other people.
Give it to me, brother. Give it to me. Um, okay. We talked about that. We've talked about that. Um, I had one more question about performance. You've talked about how like you've prepped Mariana, I presume, some other actresses you work with, and actors with like some basic character information and outline and stuff. What about on the day? Are you giving much direction in the moment, or is it like, is it the classic casting is 90% of it?
Mm. So yeah, I like working with pretty girls and I'm really drawn to working with very pretty girls. I like to see that on the screen. And I like that energy. And actually it took me a lot of movies to even work with another guy. And I would cast based on not just looks, but I mean, of course, I would have a phone call, and I would have a phone call with an actress, and I would tell them, this is what I'm going to shoot. This is how I shoot. And if there was a link up, like once Love Her, I would send them Sorority Girl Massacre links too. I would say, this is what I've made. Like, this is who I am. But the thing we're going to make is going to be, whatever. It's Red Static Rising. It's going to be a horror movie. We're going to go out to a house. There's going to be some nightmare. It's going to be like this and that. And I would really feel out the person I was talking to. I think I have a good sense of feeling them out. And I also learned right away that you're going to get a lot of yeses very quickly. Like, yes, I want to be in your movie. I'm so trained. I've taken improv for 7 years and I've done theater and musical theater and I've been in all of this and all of that. And I realized very quickly it's not that I'm very educated as well, but I know that the real transformation in my life didn't necessarily come from that. Yes, it's important, but I don't like all of those accolades. I like seeing people that they just show up. They just show up. Like Mariana, like I said, I never saw her act. I only had one in-person encounter with her, and she showed up. Actually, everybody's been like that. I'll watch a little reel sometimes of people. Now, on the day of the shoot, I I tend to like to ease into things. I don't want to say break people down. It's not like that. Well, let me say it. How do I say this? So we don't have a lot of time. So the first shot is usually 30 minutes after talent arrives. Sometimes I will just start shooting them on my phone against a wall and I'll have them breathe and I'll get them used to me and I'll get them used to how I'm looking at them, talking to them, directing them before my DP is even set up. Or he sets up very quickly, but sometimes I'll just start capturing B-roll. But I'm doing this very intentionally and I'm getting a really good sense of the person. You have to be able to read people impeccably, which I don't always get right. You also have to be insane, which I probably am. Now, when we start shooting the talking parts of the movie, yeah, I will guide, like, this is what I want to happen in the scene. You're sitting down, you guys need to talk about this, and then you are going to say this, that. I'll do that. Sometimes it's very cut and dry, it's very simple. Something will lead to something else. Never is dialogue written down. Sometimes, recently, I just get bolder and bolder because I don't even do shot lists anymore. But like I'll just come in and tell them a vague, vaguely what the movie's about, and then we'll get to like I remember with I don't know if you saw Divorced.
Yeah,
but
of course. That's one of my faves.
the lead actress, I guess she's the lead, Nubia. I mean, she's not an actress. Like she's never acted in her life. She she came to me through Julia Buranak, who is in Red Static Rising and Angels in Retina and Bad Girl School. Julia, it's fantastic. And Nubia just showed up. And to perform, to kind of just meet her energy on that day and to play with her in that way became it's so organic. It was so organic in the moment. And then the other woman who was acting, Oya and Brian Brewer, Chris Spinelli, they're all in that movie. They've acted. They kind of know like, okay, I'm playing a doctor. Okay, I'm playing this. I'm okay. But that movie, Divorced in particular, it changed. It just unraveled. It unraveled as it was being shot because I didn't know how Nubia was going to talk. I didn't know if she was going to say anything. I just knew she was going to play my wife. And I just had to give her a feeling and play against that feeling. And then the movie just became something else that's was really beautiful. I like that movie. Um, and did you notice that by the time that movie hit, I'm finally really able to show my face.
This is what I want to ask about
So
next. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so how is somebody directed? Well, I also got some encouragement from John Cassavetes through interviews where Peter Falk was talking about Cassavetes and he just said Cassavetes would just he would masterfully confuse us. He would talk so much that we would end up with all of these contradictions. And then he would shoot us over and over to get that moment of rawness. And I thought, oh, that's it. Like that rawness is what I like. I know that. That's why I liked working with Nubia, for example, who has no acting experience versus somebody who might be completely trained in acting and who might be like, what's my motivation and this and that. That's fine to ask that. That's fine if that's where you're coming from as an actor. But when you're kind of playing against me, I'm also very unorthodox and I'm very able to just kind of go, let's be present. Like, who's your character? What's their motivation? I don't know. There's no motivation. We're just here. We're acting, we're playing. I'm an asshole. So let's be assholes. Let's fight. Whatever. So I like that. And I like hitting that until it works. And luckily I think we can get that going on set just based off the energy of what needs to be done. Yeah. So and but like so for like Kama Sutra Cowgirl, which I don't know when this is, this will be on in posterity on the internet probably, but it's about to come out. I actually didn't know what I was going to shoot until the morning of the shoot. Because the night before, I was going to call the movie Avalon. And then Greg said, well, why don't you call the movie Kama Sutra? But he said, don't make it sexual. He's very much like a perverse Zen teacher in these ways. Like Dance the Kung Fu has zero Kung Fu. And he'll be like, that's the only rule I have for you is to put zero Kung Fu in that movie. And I woke up the morning of the shoot for Kama Sutra Cowgirl, and I let, something kind of enter in very calmly and I was able and I wrote it out like in paragraph form. And actually I had like a nice little treatment of it. And I took that treatment to set. So on Kama Sutra Cowgirl, it was like it's a different method. So I mean, I love the fact that I'm still learning. And I think that's fascinates me. That if I keep making movies, if I'm able to make movies, if people are able to pay for them to be made, I'm really curious as to how I'll be directing, next year or 2 years from now. I really don't know. Hopefully better.
I guess you're always striving forward, right? The more you do, the more you go, you know? I want to ask this is my last question performance, and I want to move to some more kind of directing questions. But you touched on this previously, but I want to get maybe a bit more into it. in Lazarium, that is a movie where you show your face. You are the rubber-faced man in Love Hurts. You are in and
That's
many other
right.
movies before that. So you
Yeah.
said this was your first time taking your mask off, and you talk about that in the movie as well. So could you just talk about that moment? I guess just for a little bit of context.
Yeah.
Whereas Lazarium is like a thriller game show death. It's a kind of a complicated beast, but basically it's a game show where there's some danger in the air, and you play the host.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like a kind of snuff kind of angle to it. It's really fun.
It's a
Um,
comedy as well. Yeah.
I think I was just ready to go with that one. All Greg had said for Lazarium, he said, I want you to make, he said, I'm going to get you this one studio with laser, it has like lasers on the ground. And he said, I don't care what you do, but he might have even said the word challenges. And I thought, okay, this is my time. Like I'm ready to, I know the character that I want to do. And uh I had been really enjoying, I don't know if you know Fish Tank Live, which is a show. It's a very perverse reality show. And the contestants are pitted against each other, and it's very wild. And the host, Sam Hyde, is a very controversial figure. And I was really falling into that and enjoying watching it. I enjoyed watching the rawness of it. Again, it's just raw. It's not even acting. Like the people are just being, and their being is so interesting. And I thought, well, I really want to capture that with Lazarium. I want to go full gonzo. I want to not act because I know how I direct. And my DP, Louis DeStefano, I love him. He's a very traditional movie maker in his mind. So his distinction of what a movie should be is very traditional. Like a movie should have a script, it should unfold in a certain way. And so when he's working with me, I feel like he's always entering into these unknown spaces where he has to kind of meet me where I am. So with Lazarium, I thought, well, let's just go in and let's just play it gonzo. I'm going to play a director. I'm going to be a director. Um, and I had bought the white face paint. Uh, I was just ready, bring a cowboy hat. Like let's just get into it. Let me just show the world, not necessarily how I direct in real life, but let me take me as a director and let me play myself thinking about this like kind of reality show that I've been enjoying. It's been really feeding my inspiration. And then let me filter that into kind of almost like the Running Man. Let's filter it into kind of like this. Like if we had a bigger budget, Lazarium could have had, more grand kind of challenges, so to speak, like a Squid Game kind of aura. But I thought, let's just do it where we're a production company. Let's keep the cameras rolling. We can maximize footage. But let's tell a story. Let's have the actors come in, and then at one point let's flip it. Okay, well, not getting into the story of it, the choice for me to take that mask off, actually I ripped the mask. I tore it, was unintentional. It's an expensive mask.
You retaped it later in Bikini
I
Guillotine.
did retape it. I retaped it for Bikini Guillotine. Now it just looks absolutely perverse. Um, but that moment, I really felt like, yeah, there's no turning back now. Let me show myself. Let me show the world who I am when I perform, and when I perform as I want to perform in a way without judgment upon myself, with full attention to what's happening in the context of a story. Let me act. Let me act. I mean, in a way, a lot of these are I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I feel like on one level, people can judge you and say, "Oh my God, look at look at Mr. Actor, director, producer, editor, composer, whatever, cinematographer." Oh, but there's a part of me that just goes like, "Yeah, but that's what I've been tasked with." Like that's where I'm standing right now. I don't have the resources to hire a crew of people. When you have one day to make a movie and you're the fire that's burning, you burn. Yeah, like I don't know how to say it. Like if I'm not gonna burn, then the movie's not gonna happen. So yeah, and who's gonna edit it? what if we don't have money for an editor? What if instead of hiring an editor, what if I edit the movie to allow another movie to happen next month, you know? What if we save that part of the budget? So Lazarium, yeah, it's like let's go. Let's just be there. Let's show up and then let's have Film Threat, completely destroy it. I don't care. Actually, I look back at that
Mhm.
performance and I go, it's just a moment in time. Like, who cares? It's
Having a
fun.
having a hater means that you provoked someone. So that's you got because some people don't even have haters. No one even thinks about them. You got a hater. That means people are thinking about you. You provoked that reviewer. That's impressive. That's not nothing.
Well, I knew it was going to be a bad review because Film Threat said we can't find one critic on our staff who wants to give this a positive review. And I
That means
said,
a lot of people watched it. That's pretty cool.
I said, well, that's okay. I said, if you give it a bad review, I said, can you give it a full Lazarium bad review? Can your reviewer be so scathing and so intense that it really hits the essence of that experience? And they said, yeah, we can do that. So actually, I did bring it upon myself that it's so negative.
You
Yeah.
brought the wrath further upon yourself. Well, I'm sure you gave that writer a nice gift then. It's like, yeah, just go for it. Go as hard as you can. That'd be a fun day for that writer, I guess.
Yeah, I just don't understand this distinction that somebody would say Lazarium is not a film. Like that sentence, as a critic who watches, I would guess, like a shit ton of movies, to watch this and go, this is not a film, like, well, I see a very narrow perspective there. Maybe it's just my perspective is
No, I
different.
feel you.
And,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
people have very narrow ideas of what a movie is. I mean, you talked about it earlier, right? With like the idea, like a basic kind of film grammar that's very classic, and it's like that's not actually objectively what you need to make a good movie, right? Or like good craft. Like these are just like opinions or like a general consensus on like what good movie making is, right? But that's not fixed.
Yeah.
So
That's not fixed. That's none of that is fixed. Those are all just distinctions people are making. I mean, this week I saw some movies by Kenji Onishi. Somebody was sharing links around on X. This director, obscure director, put out a few movies in the 90s. I spent 6 years in Japan, never heard of this guy. I watch these movies. They're so lo-fi and textured and grading experiences. Unpleasant, really. Unpleasant. And yet they open something, you know? So like I said before, they allow me to have something. They give me something. So obviously in the way that I'm experiencing a movie, there are certain things that expand my understanding. And it allowed me to jump onto my other computer and start working on this other project that I've been pulling together called A Stranger Calls at 3 a.m., which finally, as of today, uh, really took shape. And I have to thank this experience of watching, Kenji Onishi, but other people might watch that and go, this is completely like, I don't know what I'm watching. It's very unwatchable in some way. But yeah, I don't know. There's just how is something gonna speak to us? So what's gonna speak to us? That's all so it's so mysterious, it's so subjective, and then I don't have an answer for it. I just think like as long as and at the same time, I don't want to make things that are impenetrable to audiences. Like when that reviewer said Lazarium is not a film, I was just like, well, yeah, it is. I really was like, well, I really thought people would see it as a movie, or somebody would see it and go, well, Love Hurts is actually it's not a horror movie, but it is a horror movie. I mean, I appreciate you and your care, how careful you are when you think about things, and maybe we're also just we're perverse in similar ways, which I appreciate, but you definitely have a care and a consideration, and I wouldn't be making the type of movies I make if, your lists on Letterboxd, like Drone Core, The Void. I mean, these lists like changed my life. I don't know if you know that. Like, I would go through those lists and find those movies, and I would be like, well, this guy gets it. Like, I like this stuff. Like, I like David Dakota movies where people are wandering around empty mansions. Like, they allow space, they allow creativity.
Yeah, I'm, I'm with you. I feel very, like I feel very welcomed into a 1313 movie, a Dakota 1313 movie. I definitely, I feel like I'm in the mansion with the guys after a while.
You're just one of the guys. You got your tidy whities on. You're ready to like X work out.
Exactly.
There might be a doll running around, maybe not. Some magic, some
Or,
magic
or a
happening.
beautiful older woman from a horror movie of yore. Yeah. And definitely, I feel like there's something similar in not all of your films, but like I definitely feel that a lot of them you kind of have this sense of like the movie almost like surrounds you as a viewer, and then you can feel creeped out and also feel kind of trapped in it and also feel laughter and kind of joy. And it just, yeah, as you said, there's a lot of space to kind of give the back and forth. Um, I have a question
Yeah.
about, speaking of intangible things, though. I do have another question about that, which is that your movies often uh, have like an erotic element and like a horror element kind of in combo. And I just want you to talk about that because, like, for instance, like something like Centipede Strangler, there's that movie which is about people having like eroticized seizures, basically, right? There is that element of it which feels fetishistic, but then also that is a spooky, creepy movie, which is feels supposed to be creepy as well. So yeah, can you talk about that mixture, that balance?
Sure. I'm a deeply erotic person. I don't know any other way to say that, and that probably sounds absurd. But Eros is something that I take very seriously, or how to say it, very lovingly, or it has taken me, and it has taken me, and now I'm already infiltrated by it before the game even begins. So the real game that I'm going to play is already going to be seeping through with the erotic, especially if you give me the freedom to let that come forth. The dark elements being intertwined, yeah, I've always liked cinematic violence. I don't like real world violence. I don't like real world violence at all. I don't like seeing real world blood or tragedy or celebrating these things. I don't watch people getting executed or anything like that. I stay away from that. But cinematic violence has always felt different to me. And it felt joyful to me. It's just always felt joyful to me. I never felt a qualm about playing guns with my friends when I was young, or watching a slasher movie and seeing people die on screen. There was always just something there that was okay, that we could see this and we could be this. Now the dark side, the hidden side of that were the things that we couldn't see, which again, going back to those moments of um, the erotic, seeing an erotic movie at a time when the erotic wasn't, we weren't permeated with it, through internet or cell phone or whatever. It was literally hidden. It was literally something you had to encounter. Now, maybe that's a way of telling it. Maybe just my barometer for the kind of stories I want to tell or the kind of art. I don't even think in terms of story. Like the Centipede Strangler, like what is that story? I don't even know what that story is. I just know actually that movie in particular. So like let's just be very honest. Like you and I could probably both agree on this. There are pornographic directors that we can look to and go, this is a good director. Like this is great. This is as good as something else, but it's adult. It's adult. Whatever that means to you. But that adultness of something, that lingering on the subject, that turning somebody into porno through the camera is intriguing, maybe. That makes it sound too intellectual. It's just very natural to me, such that all those years back when I saw Possession by Zulawski and I saw Isabella Adjani in the subway. Obviously, it's very memeified now, very cliched. Everybody knows it. But the first time you encounter that, or the first time I encountered that, and he holds that for so long, he holds it, and her performance is so raw and visceral and beautiful and gross, and yet in that grossness there's a profound beauty, and there's a gushing forth, and there's a rawness that we can encounter and be with and see, and it's not like I'm getting off to it erotically. It's like it's just a good cinema, and it's something that I would want to watch. Just like I would want to watch, there were times in my life where I just really wanted to watch Gregory Dark movies. Or there were times in my life where I wanted to watch Roger Watkins movies. I also like these people. Zulawski was going through a divorce during Possession, and and the power that comes from that movie just I'm so glad he made it because he tapped into something that we can we can grow from, we can use, we can just be with. Gregory Dark is able to show the animality of a person becoming animal. I like that. I like the idea. When you see Kama Sutra Cowgirl, I think you'll see what I'm talking about. But squeal, yell, be an animal. Who cares? Do it. Just be in that space. Now there's that. That to me is probably a close to like an erotic energy. Now with Centipede Strangler, that was a very interesting production because Hannah Webb, who's actually in Kama Sutra Cowgirl, was ready to act and she was ready to perform. And she came in, and there was another production happening at that same studio. So we were forced into one room almost, this hospital room, which 90% of the movie takes place in one room. And then Anna Bukareva, I think I'm saying her name right. I called her that morning because my other actress canceled at the last minute. And Anna paints these beautiful erotic paintings. I didn't even know it. But I called her, I told her I'm going to do a movie called The Centipede Strangler. It's going to have these nightmare scenes. I'm going to use I just call it psychic energy. I'm going to use magical energy to make your body feel a mixture of pleasure and pain. You're going to feel ecstasy, but it's going to be an ecstasy that you're trapped within that you can't get out of. Do you want to make a movie today? And she's like, "Oh, yes, that sounds amazing." So she came last minute, and Hannah, and then we're in this room, and I can tell you exactly what happened. I had my mask, whatever. I'm ready to do something. I don't even know what this movie's going to become because I thought we were going to have access to more parts of the studio, but this other movie was bigger. My movie was in one room. Hannah lies on the bed. And I said, well, let's start with like a possession scene. Or maybe it was the first time where I came in and started kind of touching her. Oh, no, no, no. The first scene it's actually, I think, the first scene in the movie where I said, I want you to have this kind of reaction that you're caught in this nightmarish world. And her reaction is so powerful, right? Like it's like she's screaming, she's yelling, she's thrashing. It's like she's wanted to do this role, act in this way her entire life. Like it was like she was bringing out everything unprovoked. I didn't have to say anything. Just be, just go there. You're free. You're free to do this. I want you to do it. I want to see it. I want to see it. You know, just be there. Just do it. Incredible. Screaming at the top of her lungs, like just absolutely, but beautiful and like touching her body and just this mixture of things. So that movie right there, I thought this is the fucking movie. Like this is it. It's this. This is the whole movie. I want this energy. I don't even care about a story. I just want this. Now, yes, a story is woven into it in some way. And then Anna comes in, never had acted in a movie before in her life. And suddenly, by the end of the day, she's putting worms in her mouth. She's smearing worms over her body. She's just feeling it. And I think that's like I don't know if like I'm midwifing this in the room, like suggestively, or if it's just coming out of the spirit of what's happening, but like there's a magic there that there's a purity there. It's not like somebody's going, take these worms, smear them on your face, bite the worms. No, it's not like that at all. It's I would like, it's like I would like the worms. Let's use the worms, however you want to use them. Can you use the worms? Whatever. But then sometimes when the camera's on and there's an energy, and is it erotic? Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm an erotic person. You can't remove that from me. If I'm going to tell a story the way I want to tell it, that's important to me. Um, it just is. Maybe that's just how I'm wired. Maybe that's just how I have to kind of come to terms with that. So if you look at something like Love Hurts, it's very restrained, actually. He can't touch her. He doesn't touch her, barely. He's he comes close and then withdraws. She's too much for him to even, she's untouchable. So that energy had to be there for that to happen, but that paved the way for something like the Centipede Strangler to happen, which is much more visceral. It's like an erotic exorcism.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good title for a movie. Erotic exorcism. Let's
Yeah.
make that movie, Kai.
Coming up. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Um,
Mystique.
yeah, Mystique 2, Erotic Exorcism. Uh, Even more of a bummer than that one somehow. All right, I think you've talked about some of these things I have written here. Oh, okay. Here's a question. We haven't talked much about uh, post yet, like the editing stage. Now, you said you shoot things chronologically. Are you doing much in the edit bay, or is it mostly like just assembling what you've gotten? And then also, I'm specifically interested about how you approach sound, because I think your movies deal with sound in very interesting ways and ways that change throughout your filmography as well.
Yeah. So I have experience. I bring to the table experience with editing for various clients or various videos that I've made in the past. I'm comfortable with editing software. So the way I approach editing now and the way I approached it, we'll just say with starting with Sorority Girl Massacre, Black Static. Editing is when the movie really becomes a movie to me. It's the shooting of it is a performance. It's real, it's raw, you can't touch it, you can't hold it. Well, I guess you're capturing, it's captured, but it's ineffable. But we have it. And it's when it's fed into the machine and the files are all there, and I'll always just line them up. I usually line them up and just see what I have, how much did we shoot, what did we shoot, okay. And then I'll go back and I do have the ability to edit as a filmmaker, as a director. So as I'm editing, something starts to take shape tonally in the visual language of the film, very intuitively. It's never overthought. Now, it did take me 1 month to edit Love Hurts and Love Never Leaves. That was a one, I turned those in on October 31st. That was 1 month. I think that's the longest I've edited a movie. I was very careful with those two. Uh, the coming together as a story, yeah. So yes, I noticed right away, okay, I'm the type of director that shoots chronologically. I do that out of necessity because I have a day, I have a story. It makes the most sense for me to tell the story as it's being told and as we're performing it because we're all playing it right now. We're playing it out. So let's just play it out. We don't know what the energy is going to be. We might not even know what the true ending. I might not even know what the true ending is going to be. I'm not democratic about these things. I'm very much a fascist with these things. I'm very much in control. I noticed right away some people would try to insert suggestions. I have no qualms in saying no, thank you, but thank you. Sometimes I'll go, that's a good idea. Let's actually get that. I know how to gauge that, but I also know I'm responsible for the movie. I shouldn't say I'm a fascist about it, but I'm ultimately responsible for how the movie turns out because I'm the one that's going to edit it. I'm the one that's going to turn in the final product. So if I spend too much time listening to others, it's not going to be my movie. So I'm very, very comfortable being able to be at that point as a director. But yes, the editing part, it's usually chronological, but I'll find ways to layer if it's applicable. And sometimes the layering becomes something that really opens up the narrative. Um, Love Hurts, I probably do some layering as well. And I realize there are a few techniques I like, and I just like them because let's put it this way. David Mamet, when he talks about directing film, he talks about the importance of the cut. A movie is told in cuts. I do like that. I like that approach. It works for me. Conceptually, it makes a lot of sense. I like to play things like that. Um, so that's how I think. I'm able to get a shot of the wall, a shot of the window, a shot of your mouth, a shot of your hand, a shot of a door opening, so on and so forth. From this, a movie is being made already. A story is actually there if you can see it. So the editing of it is kind of like that. It's a putting together of those elements. And then, where applicable, layering can happen. You know, in some of my works, I'll get very into it where I'll do loops. I'll loop something and I'll feel like a visual loop is interesting. Sometimes I'll do audio loops. I'll start to play with the movie. Sometimes I'll play out a whole scene and then I'll realize that we got that scene twice, but I like both of them. And then I thought, well, why does a movie have to only have one take of a scene? Why can't I have both in there? Maybe I can. Maybe in this movie we can have it repeated. We can repeat something. I mean, music repeats. Parts of music repeat. So maybe I can repeat things too. Or if I don't repeat it strictly, maybe let me subtly repeat it somehow, somewhere. I like playing with things in that way. And so that's generally speaking how I approach editing. But I will make sure I have enough footage for the movie to exist as a movie. I'll make sure I hit my time limit. After that, I will definitely go back and tweak and build and layer and color and but there's only a few basic techniques that I like to play with. Just when I watch movies, it's the same thing. I like a nice slow dissolve. Sometimes I like cross dissolves. Yeah, I like layers. I like two images layered on top of one another. I mean, beyond that, it's mostly cuts. And then it comes down to cinematography. Some movies work better with a camera that doesn't move. Some movies work better with a very Cassavetes-like camera that's in your face, a Zulawski, you know, so a Cassavetes. So it's really trying to figure out, and that's a move that's a directorial question, not an editing question. But so yeah, the movie will kind of reveal itself in that interplay. Do you have any questions about this, or do you want me to talk about sound?
No, I think it was good. Yeah, talk about sound, please.
So I have a pretty uh comprehensive, this might not be the right word. I have a lot of experience in the realm of sound making. This also goes back to when I was a child. I was exposed to a lot of interesting projects. Like your audience might understand, like Merzbow, for example. Okay. I grew up in the 90s. I grew up pre-internet, 80s, 90s. I mean, I was middle of high school in the 90s in Michigan, listening to Meersbau, Runzelstern and Gurgelstock, other noisemakers, mainly from Japan. That's a pretty early age to hear that stuff at that time, especially when communications were not yet global. We did not have a globalized internet system in place in this world. So I liked those things, and I realized I was a bassist. I had a bass, and I realized that I could turn on my amplifier and I could take the bass and I could kind of make it feed back into me. And at that time, my parents bought like a used Ampeg bass amp and speaker, and it had a faulty wire in it, so it would electrocute me sporadically. So I remember like you'd put the guitar next to it, and then sometimes the electricity would come through the strings, and you could feel yourself kind of being electrocuted as you're engaging in this. And there's a real physicality to that, where I felt sound in that way, in a very authentic way. And then I would record sounds, inspired by some of these musicians that actually carried on in Japan. I released a number of noise albums. Well, they were released um, under the name Lap Dancer. Uh,
People still
many
find
different, what's that?
lap dancers still exist. Could I find it on the internet?
It's around, yeah. And this, but yeah. There's links around there. Um, I created so much music under that moniker. And again, that's a moniker that was kind of blending kind of the erotic. Noise always worked within the erotic and the violent, very well. Like Meersbau had like music for bondage performances and whatnot, or whatever anybody had. It was always this realm where true, there was an incomprehensibility to noise. And I realized right away that it wasn't even necessarily, yes, you can listen to noise, absolutely. You can hear it, you can listen to it, but for me, it was when I started making it and actually getting the gear to make it properly, like whatever that meant, that I would really feel I could step into that space and really authentically be there for it to show up for me. And it was Rudolf Aber, who is Runzelstern and Gurgelstock, who really taught me to pull back on the harsh elements of my work at that time. I had the good fortune of meeting him. He's an amazing artist, sound artist, performer, painter. And he was really drawn to certain works that I created at that time. And there was one work where it was just this piercing sine wave. And I was subtly manipulating it. He said, like, this is my favorite track that you sent me. This, we had a correspondence and then we met. But he said, this, I don't know if you've ever heard Runzelstern and Gurgelstock, but essential, essential listening. Um, but he said, this is the track. He said, you can feel it, there's like a pain to it. And then him and I sat in one of his rooms and he played for me this audio piece that he made, which was like almost like a riot happening. And he turned the volume up like full blast. And he left me in the room alone. And he's like, I'll be back, and he turned off the lights or something. And I'm just sitting in the room and I'm hearing these screaming voices from all around me. And I'm just like, I'm in the guy's house who made this music, this sound. And then he had this occult music, this Japanese cult gave him this occult ceremony, and he said, "I think this is meant for you. Go ahead and work with it." And I worked with it. My point being, sound manipulation, sound creation, all of this has been very, very near and dear to my heart. And as an artist, as somebody working within these realms, so it was just second nature. Like, okay, Sorority Girl Massacre. I already have a lot of stuff I can manipulate, and I'm very comfortable manipulating audio, slowing it down, speeding it up, affecting it in certain ways. I know what I like. I know what I like to hear, and I know how to let it play over on something. So honestly, Kai, that was just a natural extension of the art was I get to score my own movies because of course I do. Like maybe my whole life I've been building up all of these ridiculous, stupid noise tracks that nobody's ever listened to. All those, like in Japan at that time, it was a lot of physical media. So somebody would say, "Oh yeah, Jamie, I want to put out your noise. Send me the MP3s, send me the WAV files." They would send me back like 10 cassette tapes. They would be like, "Here's your release." And then I would just have like 10 cassette tapes of the project. And who knows where those are now. I think I left a lot of them in China. Um, but like suddenly it was like perfect. Let's really just make this your own. Make it your own. And then of course we have access to libraries of music, which I'll use, but actually almost every time I use something from a library, I'll change it. I'll put reverb on it. Sometimes I'll slow it down. I'll reverse it. I'll cut it up. I like making things my own if it makes sense, if it plays out that way. I think in Bigfoot, I played Sloop John B, but just let that play. 'Cause it's such a sweet song. And I played like a classical piece. I like that Bigfoot movie a lot. Um, that made sense though. Why put harsh drone, or why put deep drones into something that needs to be joyful? So I'm also very aware of the tonality of things, of what I want.
There's a bit in Bikini Guillotine, and maybe I'm just talking about this one a lot because it's the most recent one of yours I've seen, but where one, well, there's crowd scenes of women in bikinis, and you can't hear anything what they're saying because it's like doubled on top of itself and so much reverb. But then there's like one line outside you do hear, and you hear I don't remember which cinematographer you're working with, but you hear him say, "All right, Jamie, I'm done," basically. I love it. I was like, I lost my mind at this because I was just like, I was so
Is
lost.
that what he said?
Yeah, he said like Jamie, I got it or something, and like,
Yeah, I got it.
like before, like it's just like I'm just like you can't hear anything. I'm just like lost in the sea, right? And then you this clarity, and then like I feel like after that, then the movie starts having the girls go inside and talking more. But like I don't know, I found that
Yeah.
moment so again, I felt
Yeah.
welcomed into the process, and also like I was having a laugh, but also it was kind of a jolt as well. It's just very, it was a great moment.
Yeah. It's really liberating. That's a very liberating movie. It's a structure that I was playing with in a couple other movies, and the structure is okay, let's set up a basic premise, but then let's just show the girls at the pool and let's let that play. And then let's just have them all be killed one by one. I don't know like how to describe that structure. Maybe this is what that reviewer at Film Threat was saying when he's like, this is not a film. Maybe he would watch Bikini Guillotine and go like, what is this? And then like you said, on top of that, the audio is either incomprehensible or I would say meaningless in some way. I mean, if you really listen carefully, there are times where they're talking about the boyfriend that gets killed at the beginning of the movie, played by Brian Brewer. Like he's like, "Oh, I warned you, there's a killer out here," like, and then he dies. Like the killer's already in the house. It's these but like sometimes I like hearing. No, that was Louis DeStefano, my DP. I, it just felt right. Like, let's leave it in. Let's leave it in. Like, why do movies have to be so serious? I mean, it's not that they don't have to be serious. It's just why not expand? Why not just expand it that little bit? We're already playing with something here. We're already playing with something. There's already something about this movie, Bikini Guillotine, that doesn't make sense. Logically, rationally, whatever. It's gonna already be a kind of a thing that you sink into or you don't. So it's for the people like you that will watch it, will pay attention to it on that kind of more conscious level. You're kind of in it in some way. Yeah, you might hear that and go, "That's an odd choice that he made right there." Like that's okay. Like that's his DP, like that's the cameraman. There's probably parts in that movie where there might be a part in, actually, I think Sorority House Guillotine, which is like essentially a remixed version of that movie, but with all different kills, by the way. And it apparently directed by Gregory Hatanaka. Plays with it even more. I mean, it's even more gonzo. But I like hearing a director. To me, yeah, like that's the way I'm making these movies. That's why I like Lazarium, because it gives a little bit of a sense. Not that that's how I direct, but it gives a little bit of a sense of something that you're a part of it in some way, and that you're in on the joke, maybe. Maybe it's like you're in on the gag. You're kind of like you're welcomed in a way. You're a part of this. Cut. Yeah, cut. We're making a movie, you know. I got it. He got it. Okay, cool. What's next?
You know,
Yeah.
we already know we're watching a movie. We know it's fake in the first place, right? Like it doesn't hurt the immersion to me to every once in a while to just throw that out there.
Yeah, and then Greg really opened this up on like he's really interested in this too, I think. Like if you ever go back and watch his movie Backfire, which I'm the assistant director on, that movie Backfire is a fascinating movie where he showed up to the studio, he invited a ton of people. And I remember being there, and it was my first proper like experience on set with him. And he shows up after everybody else is already there, and everybody was like, "We don't know what we're doing. Like, well, Greg will be here; he'll know. I guess we're shooting something called Backfire. Everybody's just kind of getting ready, and something, things are just happening around a studio." He shows up and he looks at me and he goes, "What are we shooting today?" And I go, "What?" And he just starts laughing, and he goes, "We're shooting a movie, right?" He's like, "You're shooting a movie today." And I was like, I'm not shooting a movie, Grace. This is your movie. He's like, "Okay, okay, we're shooting a movie. All right. Well, let's start shooting it then." And it was almost like, but in that movie, him and I started kind of making up the story as it's going along. And there's a layer where he just said, "Yeah, they're in a movie studio, Jamie." He said, he's like, it's like in Divorced where there's certain shots. Kevin Stevenson, fantastic DP. Louis DeStefano is also a fantastic DP. He shoots most of my movies. Kevin Stevenson is a different DP. He's also a director. Um, his movie, Lady in the Urn, is in post-production right now with Cinema Epoch. But fantastic DP. But there are times where I think he at first, at the beginning of the day, he's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "Jamie, I need to get this shot. Like, I'm going to see the edge of the studio. I'm going to see the rafters." And I said, "Let's show the rafters. Let's just show the rafters. Like it's okay, it's okay to show rafters." And I don't know how to explain it anyway beyond that. I think if you're already sitting down and watching this movie, you're not going to be upset that you see rafters. It's not of the studio, I mean. It's not going to be something that, and actually, the more you see the rafters, you might start to understand the kind of movie that's being shown to you and just accept it for what it is. Yeah. It's almost like I don't want to compare it to a play, but it's like poor theater. It's poor man's theater. It's rough, it's poor. But another thing I have to say when I direct is I want things to be played with absolute authenticity. I actually, if there's one kind of thread that goes through everything, it's that. It's that when we're doing this movie, we're authentic, we're real, we believe it, we believe it. So Centipede Strangler, play it, play it. You're being haunted by this serial killer that only shows up in your nightmares, like Freddy Krueger, but he has a centipede. He has a centipede. He puts it on your body. That you can feel it. It gives you ecstasy. You have to believe that. That's what I want to see. That's very important to me, actually. I know that sounds so basic, but it's very important to me that we're not making fun of cheapness. We're not making camp for the sake of camp. Like, oh my God, he's in a Bigfoot suit. Whoop, whoop. Oh, it's Bigfoot. No, no, no. I told Brian Brewer, "You're Bigfoot, and I want you to move in a particular way. Every Bigfoot moves in a certain way. Bigfoot has a movement, and I want that movement. That's how we know Bigfoot is through his movement. So every time you move in a particular way. You're off kilter. You're disjointed. That's who you are as Bigfoot. So I want to get everybody involved in these movies as invested in the present experience as possible. That's very important to me. Chris Spinelli, yeah, I want you to crawl up the stairs. I don't want you to rush. I don't care how long it takes, but you're crawling up those stairs. Then you're going to crawl across the floor and you're going to crawl into the bed and you're going to lie down in the bed. And you're going to do that. I don't care however long it takes. Just do it. You know, that's love never leaves. But yeah, that's important to me. I just want to say that.
Yeah. Great. Great. Um, all right. I'm gonna shift us a little bit. We're near the end of my questions here. This next one is you have used AI generated imagery in a few movies in ways that I find very interesting. Can you talk about the why and how you use AI imagery? And also if you have any responses to people who are like really, really anti-AI imagery.
Absolutely. Um, I think the first project that has actually there's some AI in the Centipede Strangler, but it's very subtle. It's very subtle. Let me just document where I've used AI. It'll also help me to kind of know where I've used AI. The Barefoot Labyrinth, obviously, Barefoot Labyrinth uh, has a very it's a very much an AI movie, but it's also very organic. Breath of Knees is another one. So I believe those two probably more than any other use AI. Jupiter uses some AI as well. Jupiter was only shot with about 5 minutes of footage in in a few AI clips. It's a pretty interesting movie. But yeah, I think the way I approach it right now, the way I look at it, the way I play with it is I saw that the creativity of things could come through the prompt, and it could also come through this idea of look at the way I already make movies, Kai. Look at this idea that I've been talking about today, which is people show up. Sometimes I don't follow any shot list. They might come prepared with some idea of what's being shot, but then they notice that the director hasn't been holding a script or a shot list in his hand the entire day. He's not even referencing a shot, he's just directing. So the movie is already almost like its own kind of creative prompt where I don't know how they're going to react. AI is like that in some way, and AI is evolving every day. But where AI was when I made Barefoot Labyrinth was so interesting because there's all these different AI tools that one can find, these sites that where you can generate videos, and then you can craft the prompt. And I started to realize that though it wouldn't allow me to do straight erotic things. I was finding that suddenly around that time I was really into feet. I think it was after Torment of the Witch. And well, Centipede Strangler also has some feet elements in it near the end, or actually throughout it. But anyway, I was really into the visual sensation of experiencing feet in cinema. And I thought, well, why not make an entire movie where feet, that like a foot, like that's the movie. But why not make it dystopian? Why not make it like a Hisayasu Sato movie? Why not make it something that plays against the grain and just have fun with it? So I started just as I had time between productions, I would just start generating these little clips. And then I started to find that I was getting a kind of vocabulary was coming from me. There was something emerging, like a pattern was emerging from me, whether the pattern was a kind of black tar or this idea. I mean, I had a story, The story was this idea that there's a warehouse on the outskirts of Los Angeles where women would enter and then they would not return. And I guess their shoes were left somehow there. Actually, that was generated by AI as well. And that was part of my kind of the title was generated by AI as well. All in different prompts at different times. So that became my AI experiment. And then I had all of these clips of actresses that I'd worked with in various capacities that I wanted to make use of, and I wanted it to be very impersonal. Rarely are we even shown a face. We're only shown a foot, feet, and then it becomes something other, and it becomes overwhelming. And actually, AI allowed me to create that space. It made space for that to happen. I like that movie. I think that's came out so well for what it is because I was able to make a movie again on very limited resources through all of these different kind of back channels. I pulled something together that became something, and I'm very proud of that movie. I commissioned artwork. I self-distributed it. Um, it's out in the world. It's up for distribution. It was distributed, and then I think the license just ran out, but it's on Film Hub if anybody wants to license it. Uh, and then Breath of Knees was very similar. It was this kind of idea of a found footage Japanese movie filtered into this idea of like a cursed DVD. But I guess your point is this idea of AI. Yeah, yeah, like in order there's no thing that AI has to be. There's there's no it doesn't have to be anything. It can be other. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not intimidated by it because at the end of the day, when I look back on all the work I made, it's not like I look at AI and go, "Oh, suddenly I tapped into this fantasy of clarity and beauty and I can make anything come true." Actually, there's a certain veneer of falsity that comes through AI. And actually, I degraded all of the AI clips that I used. Sometimes I would blur them, I would slow them down, I would put grain over them. I intentionally made them other than they were because I wasn't happy with how they looked. So I think we're gonna find, yeah, movies will be made with AI elements. Of course, it just will happen. But for me as a filmmaker, I'm not worried about that because I know the intensity of things that I like to capture and that resonate with me most are on a certain, they have a certain texture, they have a certain human quality. Maybe it's because I was there doing them with these people. But as a tool, I don't mind. I never thought about it in any controversial way. It was actually just, yeah, let's use it. Let's try it. Let's play with it. Let's see what it does. And it didn't I don't even think it really even profoundly changed anything that I do. I don't even think about it anymore. If I use it again, I use it again. If I don't, I don't. Right now I'm really interested in very lo-fi textures. Like I want to shoot something in 720p. Again, like I want to shoot something and then degrade it even more. I want it to look a certain way. I want it to feel muddy. So however I can do that, but of course if I can do that with real people, then I'll be able to see a real person on the screen and that means a lot to me.
Dude, you keep saying stuff that I am like doing with my movie right now. It's like blowing my mind. I am like shooting the puppet stuff. So much of it's in 720p, and I'm like, it's all so chunky looking. Yeah, and the using the takes, multiple takes. Again, man, you and I, a similar brainwaves here. I'm loving it.
We really do. We
I'm
really
loving
do, man.
Um, I actually just okay, so I've got basically kind of a fun biggish question and then a couple to wrap up, but I just remembered one that I can't believe I didn't write down. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
ask you about Butchered by Sundown. If you can just give like a brief like How did that project happen? How did the Western go on? Now, I actually don't this part I probably won't put on the day. I think I'm gonna let them know what it is just before it starts. That's my vibe. Maybe I'll change my mind on the day. But yeah, just for those who've gone to the full interview, let us know.
Butchered by Sundown. Well, that was actually just on one level, Greg wanted a Western. So I really appreciate Gregory Hatanaka as a person, a mentor, a friend, and I really appreciate somebody that can that I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky. I probably don't deserve any of this. But I'm so lucky where somebody will go, I want you to make a Western. Like it's not every day where somebody goes, I want you to make Lazarium. I booked the studio, go make Lazarium, you know? And you're like, all right, that's awesome. Let's do it. I don't care what you do, just call it Lazarium. So I want a Western. I don't care what it is, make a Western. Now, that was actually a nice challenge because actually it's the first Western that I made. And I would like to make another. I have an idea for another. Well, I have a title for another. And beyond that, I have a vague idea of what I wanted to shoot. But with Butchered by Sundown, it really allowed me to kind of craft my thinking outside of horror per se. Now, it's not that I guess as I said earlier, I don't feel like I don't know if I said it today outright, but I don't feel like I'm a strict horror director. But I do feel, I think Greg was saying before, he said my work kind of feels like the cinema of revulsion, the cinema of repulsion, you know, people being repulsed at things or a kind of revulsion against somebody, women in peril, for example. You know, these kind of things come out of my work, and I guess they skewer towards horror more than anything else. Even Lazarium, for example, at the end of the movie, you know, we execute one of the actresses, right? Just and then we leave her body there and we go get food. You know, it's like it's pretty brutal. You know, it's very cold. Uh, Butchered by Sundown was supposed, yes, make a Western, make a Western, play it, you know, however you want to play it, but be true to it in your way. So that's a pretty vague, but you know, I like that kind of instruction. Uh, I knew the tonality, I knew I was going to be in it, and I knew that it was going to be a woman who was fleeing a massacre. There was a massacre. Some bad dude killed her family. Now he's tracking her down. Was the general premise. Let's start from there. I had written it down, how it should flow. But as these things evolve, you know, as these things do, they evolve. So actually, I had a different DP on that day, and there was another movie being shot at that same location. So suddenly you're up against these logistical games that are happening. Um, I had Hannah Houston and Jillian Gabby. Hannah embodies this, she's the redhead, just amazing Western spirit, powerful, little accent, confidence. I'm like, she has to be the bounty hunter in some way. She's a bounty hunter. She's a powerful presence. Jillian shows up. She's wearing this black, almost like a slip. It's like a black dress. It's like a black slip and cowboy boots. I was like, that's a fascinating choice. And let's put her on the run. It just made sense. Now, what flowed from there after that was this idea that I was going to enter into it as this kind of priestly, God-fearing man. And I think that movie taps into something that I liked the spiritual element of it, and I liked working within a kind of, you know, do I play with Westerns as you know, following any kind of lineage of Westerns? Probably not, which might make it more interesting because I do play it in my own way. It still has this nightmarish element. But you have to understand a lot of that movie was unfolding as it was being created. I mean, the bartender, Everett Smith, him just kind of out there in the wild. Um, Now, I always like the liminal spaces of things, and I think you know that. I think Love Hurts taps into that quite well. And I think in order for me to get my bearings at the Western set, we needed to start shooting just out in the field. We needed to just go out there and show the field. We needed to show the chapel had to be empty, the saloon. Actually, the saloon has a few people, but things usually have to be empty. And then from that emptiness, something can come. And actually, the story itself, I think, is very just genre appropriate in some way. There's a shootout. Maybe my character is the most indulgent. I have a holster with a loaded gun that I don't think I use.
You're like
I'm carrying, what's that?
A Robert Mitchum type.
Like a Robert Mitchum type. And absolutely. There was this gigantic Bible that was in the chapel, and then I brought the axe. And I wanted to have that cowboy hat, obviously. We had just shot Lazarium the day before, so I was coming off of that, and I had to tone it down and just be. I wanted to be that kind of executioner. I wanted that kind of executioner-like character to be in a movie. I think it could still be done in a different way. I think with like another Western, it could be done in a much different way. But if I do another Western, I think I'll do something much more wholesome. I'll do a very wholesome Western. Um, I like the Christian imagery. I think I've always wanted to read the Bible in a movie. It just feels very American. It feels very much connected to my childhood. It's beautiful. I like the idea of that Robert Mitchum like character of somebody who can read. I think I read like I think I read like three Psalms in that movie. It's funny, the DP, well, he wasn't the DP on that movie, Louis DeStefano, who's actually in the beginning of that movie. He's like the man in the chapel who's like, he's like, oh, I want to leave this life of crime and surrender my gun and all of this. He told me that sometimes he drives around and he would just like listen to me reading the Psalms as he's driving around LA. I got a kick out of that. It's like, that's pretty wild, man. He's like, because he's very Christian. He's very like wholesomely Christian. I was like, that's an interesting choice. But
The preacher's a bad man.
that preacher's a pretty bad man. Yeah. There's some things in that movie I really like when Emiko Ishii, she's the young lady in the room. So the shooting spaces were so tight at that place. There's a lot of logistical things that we had to kind of make happen. Like when I'm in one room, there's a one woman who sits up on the bed, and I'm there, and then you never see me kill her, and I kill her with an axe. Um, that was very logistical. Like can't show the killing. That's another thing people don't realize. Maybe they do, but the way these movies, like a lot of this stuff, like somebody put on Reddit. I think it was under Bikini Guillotine, like this Jamie Grefe guy needs to be on a list. He's uh he's choking all of these women in every movie he's in. Then I thought, and it's just, it's accurate. I mean, it's a movie. It's all fake. It's make believe. But I was like thinking, well, choking doesn't involve any blood. And when you're shooting a movie for one day and you want to show violence, you have to make choices. And I remember, I think it was Lynn Ramsey. Lynn Ramsey was it? She did that movie with Joaquin Phoenix. What is that movie she did
You were
where
never,
he plays?
no, it's called
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. You're never really here or something like that.
The Hammer.
Ye-
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she said something like she didn't have a lot of experience at that point shooting a death scene. So in order to make it believable, and I could be taking this out of context or something, forgive me, but in order for her to do an effective job at showing all of that violence, she said all of the on-screen violence, like the impact, the kill is not shown. You see the before and then you see the after. And I was like, well, that's really interesting. That's a great creative choice. If I'm remembering this correctly, that's a great creative choice that the director's making. Like in Killing of a Chinese Bookie, when Ben Gazzara is apparently shot during the shootout. but we never see him being shot. We just see him back at the club wandering around, and then there's one point where he touches his side, and then he opens up his suit coat and he's bleeding, you know? And I thought, well, that's interesting because things can happen. Like, why does a movie, like, obviously, in the course of a movie, a character is going to have something happen to them that's not being shown in the movie. So, in Cassavetes' logic, yeah, we don't have to show the actual moment of impact. We can just show that he's been shot. We don't have to explain that. And I give a nod to that in Kama Sutra Cowgirl. But with the choking observation, it's interesting because I mean it doesn't involve any special effects. It's very easy to pull off. It's psychosexual in a way. It's visually looks interesting and it pairs really nicely with a stab to the belly.
Oh yeah, it's great. Thank you. Great answer. All right, I've got this is my number three of my last third question. All right, so this is I thought that okay, you've made so many movies in the somewhat short stretch of time, and I just wanted to try to give viewers a sense of your filmography. So I just want to say if you could just say any of your favorites of your own films, just give it a few, and then I have 10 of your movies that I have put forth as my favorites as well.
Wow. Yeah. Favorites. Favorites that I would recommend to somebody to kind of like dip into and
Exactly.
check out.
Yeah, where would you send people after they've seen Love Hurts? Hopefully they've also stuck around for Butcher by Sundown. Where might they
Oh
go?
yeah. Yeah, where would they go? Where would I go? I don't know I don't know how anybody else is even watching these movies and how they're seeing them. First of all, that's on honestly, I don't. But I feel like I would definitely I would want to recommend Love Never Leaves just to see what happened on that actual day. But oh my God, Love Never Leaves. It's like sending somebody into It's like sending an elementary school child into calculus class. You know, it's very complex. It demands a lot from you. It asks a lot of your patience. But I think it's quite beautiful. I don't know if I would recommend that one though. I think I would recommend if they want to see something a little more bubbly and popcorny, I would go for the Bigfoot. I would go for Bigfoot Primal Encounter. It's very fun. Um, but it might be too much of a leap from Love Hurts. I would encourage people to track down Red Static Rising, which I know Trauma licensed, but it's hard to find otherwise. Um,
I think I've
but then
seen the
again,
other half of that shoot. I think I've seen Angels in Retina. Was that part of the same shoot as Red Stag Rising?
that was. I like Angels and Retinal a lot too, but I do enjoy like I think Red Static Rising captures a very interesting a possessed person kind of energy, and a nightmarish energy that I still look back at and go, oh yes, that was nice. Now I think I'll leave it at that. But then again, the movies that I'm very hesitant to recommend anything. I mean, I would want people to see Divorced. I think that's a movie that is the most I don't want to say it's autobiographical, but it was a movie that it's a movie that's very significant to me, at least in title alone and in the energy of it and what it kind of opened up. I would want people really to see Kama Sutra Cowgirl, which I actually just rewatched with a friend of mine the other night, and we were both just like, this is nice. Like there's something here that's it's really sweet. Um, I would go with Divorced. I would go with Kama Sutra Cowgirl. And then if I had to choose one more, yeah, well, I mean, go into something wild. Go into the creativity workshop. Go into Lazarium. I mean, the creativity workshop and Dance the Kung Fu. It's Dance the Kung Fu is 2 hours long. So Greg just said, well, why don't you chop it in the middle and just call the first part something totally different? So I said, okay. So I called it the creativity workshop. And then the second part is dance the kung fu. I watched that again with a friend of mine, and those are very sweet movies. And they actually give a great insight into my process and into things I love. And but they're challenging for a viewer. And it's not that I'm saying this to be obtuse or challenging or I want to provoke, not provoke, but I want to stand on some kind of pedestal. I don't. I just feel like I know my work is not for everyone. And it takes a particular there's a particular something that there's a particular person like you. You would be that particular person. Maybe you're one of the invisible people that I'm imagining when I'm thinking back on these movies. Well, who's enjoying these movies? And it gives me a lot of joy to go, well, there's somebody like Kai out there who's literally telling me he's excited to put on one of these movies. Like that gives me a lot of joy. But I would, at the end of the day, though, just to make this very short, I guess I'm really happy because when I asked Greg, I'd never seen a Cassavetes movie until recently, and I said, which one should I start with? And he was just like, I can't tell you that. Like, that's up for you. That's up to you. Like you have to. You have to find your way in. I'd like to think that maybe somebody can find their way in somehow. Maybe Barefoot Labyrinth, they'll find their way in. Maybe it'll be Neptune, maybe Jupiter. Maybe somebody will watch Jupiter and go, what is this? You know? And then I'm really happy that I saw Killing of a Chinese Bookie first. And I was just mesmerized. I think that's probably idealistically, ideally, I would say that, but yeah, just dive in, see what you like, see if you can handle so much of me on the
Well,
screen.
I definitely hope. I think there are many who can. I like to throw out a few of my own recs as well, and also second some. Divorced, as you said, that's one of my favorites of yours. That's on YouTube as well, and that's a really deeply sad, but also it's got a certain kind of bubbly, creative quality to it, and a certain kind of spontaneity to it. Obviously, we're talking your process, but that movie feels like you really don't know what's going to happen, even though you understand the broad strokes of the relationship. Yeah, Barefoot Labyrinth, I second. I think a good entryway are your sorority girl massacre movies, which I think are a rumble, right? So I think that Guts of Ecstasy and Black Static at Moment of Death, I think that those movies are so like they're so deliberate and they're so enveloping. I had a buddy of mine, Daniel, recently watched. I think it was Gust of Ecstasy, maybe it was Black Static, and he was just like, I didn't realize it would be so disturbing. Like he really felt like quite a lot taken by it, and I think those are good ones. I agree. Love Never Leaves. I agree. Definitely is kind of a durational movie. Definitely got like a bit of Simon Lang quality to it, but I really like it. Lazarium we talked about. Which is also on YouTube. We talked about Bikini Guillotine. I think that movie is rad. That's also on YouTube right now. Jupiter, I agree, super interesting. Also on YouTube. I think that those are kind of my. I mean, right now looking at my list, those are kind of my favorites of yours I've seen. But I'm forgetting which ones are not in my list, and all of them I like. So they're all worthy, viewer, of going to seek out. You will find something in every one of these movies.
Well, it's funny, I forgot about the Sorority Girl Massacre trilogy. And I think when I was first starting to direct, I'll just say this very quickly. I was happy or I was prepared for two things. One, I was prepared only to make Sorority Girl Massacre movies. I was going to make an infinite number of them. Like every movie I was going to do was going to be Sorority Girl Massacre. Not that I'm somehow privy to sorority girls or them being massacred, but it played so well into my kind of just where I'm from, as a person, just this idea of the slasher lineage, just to be a part of the slasher exploitation lineage, it kind of fit. I was prepared all of that. And then what I'll also say is probably spiritually, Love Hurts is a sorority girl massacre
Mhm.
movie. The title is arbitrary. The title came after the shoot. As I was driving back from the shoot, I was very sad as I was driving home. And I was also very satisfied. I was satisfied and I was empty. I felt like it's almost like you went into a trance and you come out and you just feel something changed in you. And it was like a beautiful sadness. But yeah, I would recommend those sorority girl massacre movies too. They're hard, but they go hard because they need to go hard. And in many ways, I'm moving back now, October 1st, which is just a few weeks away. Like I said, will mark the kind of 1 year anniversary. When I say studio movies, studio company movies, whatever you want to say. But I never want to forget ever that I shot, there's three of them. One I self-released, self-distributed through my own company. But I shot those on an Android, not even an iPhone. Who cares? iPhone. Does it matter? Who cares? I shot them. I edited it on open source software. Again, not that it matters, but it is what it is. And I shot them with the attitude of use what you have, go make a movie. It sounds so simple. So many people have said it. Very few do it. And I'm glad you recommended those. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah! I'm really hoping this screening will get we'll get more people deep into your zone. All right, so last two questions. One, do you know what you're shooting next? You just shot Kama Sutra Cowboy. It'll be out soon. What do you have the next title ready? The next genre ready?
Kama Sutra Cowgirl.
Kama Sutra
Although
Cowboy.
I did want to call it Kama Sutra Cowboy. Um,
Cowgirl's better. Cowgirl's better.
Cowgirls is better. I'm actually producing, I just helped bring a Mark Polonia movie into the world
Cool.
through Cinema Epoch. I was a producer on that, and I was able to communicate with Mark as to achieving a slightly different tonality and texture than he's normally been working with them, and that's Robocidal. And Cinema Epoch put that out. It's on their YouTube channel. It'll go out onto other platforms as well. I'm producing another movie right now through Cinema Epoch, and I'm really guiding the creative process of that director. Um, so there's that. I'm wrapping up a movie that I've been shooting in parts called A Stranger Calls at 3 a.m. And in my notebook last night, don't screenshot this, but it's blurry,
We're
but
getting
there's there's about 25 titles on here.
cool.
Yeah,
So
there's about 25 titles on here. Now, I have to say this, every movie I make, everything I make, of course, I love making movies on my own. Cinema Epoch, absolute blessing of a company to be with. Um, and I'm also hoping or trying to make happen more relationships with more people. I would love to work in capacities that I haven't worked in yet. I would love to be hired on to somebody else's uh, how to say it. I would like to work in parallel realms and see what comes of things. Whether that means directing a soap opera or directing a vertical or directing a Western for somebody. Now with Cinema Epoch, we play it it's very much like how my productions unfold, where tomorrow I could be told, here are the dates. You need to give me 5 movies. And, one of them needs to be called, Flying Guillotine versus Mount Everest, something like this. So I'm always kind of on standby for when that creative spark, that epoch sparks, hits. In the meantime, I'll keep I'll keep making as I'm able. and as I feel compelled to do so. I don't
Amazing.
know. Yeah.
All right, my last question for you, Jamie, is any last sentiments you want, anything you want to say to the audience, anything you wish I'd asked you, any closing remarks, basically.
Well, Kai, I feel this is like you know, this is like my there's a lot of thoughts here today that we talked about. I don't know what else to say other than, well, I guess I know what to say. I really want to thank you. I really want to thank you. Like I said, your lists, I discovered them, came across them, and felt very close to how you were curating movies and the movies that you were opening up to me and how you were. I mean, like I said earlier in this talk, Drone Core, I think is the name of one of your. I mean, Love Hurts wouldn't exist, probably without Sorority Girl Massacre wouldn't exist without that list. So that means something to me. A lot means a lot to me. And I'm profoundly grateful to be able to say these words to you about my work because I think, look, in 1 year, I haven't done an official count, but let's just say 20 plus movies. I've directed more than 20 movies this year. I've acted in all of those movies. I edited them. I scored them. All of them are in some form of distribution across various platforms, whether it's YouTube, Fossum, Troma. There are others. And yet I feel so I still feel like I'm just still learning so much and everything just feels like it happened and I don't know I don't know how it happened, but it happened and so much was done. And people will ask me, somebody asked me today, how are you able to direct so many movies? I don't know. I only need a day. And I really hope because I feel whether you like my movies or not, whether you enjoyed watching Love Hurts or not, whatever you take from it will be what you take from it. And I don't know how, profoundly I could just say I'm very grateful to have had the chance to make even one movie on somebody else's dime. I don't take that lightly. I don't play with somebody's money. I give them everything I have. So even if it's a day, I give everything I have, and I hope to bring something good into the world through this art, at least something authentic, maybe inspiring, and maybe just maybe just something, filthy, dirty, violent, bloody, obscene, goofy. I think the movies are a celebration and a testament to being alive and to be able to confront what's on the other side of the camera and to see it and to bring it out into the world.
Wonderful. Great stuff. Well, and also I want to say thank you as well. Your work inspires me, dude. I'm always, every time I watch your movies, I feel ecstatic. I feel ecstatic with the creative energy. And I really just, again, I love seeing someone else making stuff in the world that just really speaks on like a metaphysical level to my brain, and like, again, I hope that, and other people I know have seen your work too, have also said the same things of like, you're doing it, man. You're making the movies with with limited resources, and they're wonderful, and they're beautiful, and they're powerful, and it's inspiring, and hopefully, slowly, people like you can chip away the consensus of like what a normal movie looks like, and soon in the future, there will be no more critiques of things not being films. Everything will be films.
I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. I hope so too. I hope to be able to make another and yeah. we'll get there.